Good morning. We light a candle for the Tao, which teaches that the Tao is the way that pervades all, reflected as balance, the yin-yang that makes up wholeness. We light a candle for the shamanic traditions, which teaches that everything is living and infused with life force energy. We light a candle for Hinduism, which teaches that there is one supreme reality manifest in many incarnations. We light a candle for Judaism, which teaches one God, one creator of the universe with whom all can have a personal relationship. We light a candle for all forms of Buddhism, which teaches that nothing is permanent, and there are as many understandings of God as there are people, including no God. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, which teaches one God expressed as a trinity of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, which teaches that there is one God, Allah, as the one true reality and source of all creation. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, which teaches that there is one God who has been revealed progressively through the world's religions and spiritual traditions over the course of time. We light a candle for all forms of New Thought, which teaches that God is consciousness, infinite intelligence, omnipotence, omnipresence, and omniscience. There is no thing that is not God. We light a candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them, and that for all faith traditions unnamed in this ceremony. The final candle is the healing candle. It represents the revealing of the divinity at the core of all experiences. This is your candle for whatever is in your mind and heart that requires the light.
Thank you, Beryl. Thank you, Ramona. Taking our attention now to the peace candle, which we keep consistently illuminated as a reflection of a consistent illumination of peace within each and every one of us. And as we allow our individualized expression of peace to inform every aspect of our being, every relationship, every interaction, every circumstance, everything in our lives, then right where we are creating a more peaceful world. And so let's honor that understanding by sharing together this prayer for world peace. Divine love indwells each person and radiates from one to another. Harmony is established and peace reigns in the world.
Good morning. Our reading on flow this morning is from Eric Butterworth in his book, Discover the Power Within You. When you're trying to get a greater understanding of yourself, all you need to do is turn in the right direction. Once you turn in the direction of the Spirit in you, and once you have made up your mind that you are tired of living in materiality, in the consciousness of limitation, and that you want to rise to a new level of thinking and living, the moment you make this decision, something happens. And that something is the activity of divine law. When you turn to God, God turns toward you. Suddenly you have the whole universe on your side in your effort to make change. It is instantaneous, the moment you make the move to accept it. Now, when you turn on the light switch, you do not have to pick up the phone and call the power company and say, "All right, I have the switch open. Now please move the electricity into the circuits." No, the very instant the contact is made, the current flows and the light streams forth. And in the same way, the moment we turn to God, the wisdom and love and peace of God shower us with the blessings of God's presence. We really haven't changed God by our decision to come to ourselves, but we have brought ourselves into the state of acceptance. Well, we now turn to our affirmation, Flow, written by our minister, Reverend Dr. Jonathan Zenz. And I will say it first, and then we'll say it together twice. I relax. I know I am the flow. Now together. I relax. I know I am the flow. Once more. I relax. I know I am the flow. I invite you to join me in prayer. Let's relax together and take a deep breath and just release anything that is stopping the flow. Any concerns about world events, or resentments from the past, or fears of the future. I deny any power of these things over me and rest in the flow of divinity that is within each of us. I recognize that God is all there is. God is loving, all-knowing, powerful, and everywhere. And turning to God, I affirm that I am the flow of divine love on earth. I am peace. I am wisdom. I am abundance. I am joy. And with deep appreciation, I realize these treasures to be the truth of who we are, all of us. And so it is. Amen.
Oh, I was thinking about how today was going to unfold, thinking that, we're coming off of a big party last night, and yes. And I thought to myself, am I going to be tired? No, because the infinite nature of the divine is pure energy, and so I have nothing but pure energy, and so I'm the expression of pure energy, as we all are. And I was thinking about, the theme of the month obviously is flow, and what does that really mean? And I love this song. I love this song so much, and so perfect for the theme of flow. And that last verse, though, when it slows way down, and the questions: should I choose the smoothest course, steady as the beating drum? Anyone ever been faced with that question in their lives? Should I choose the smoothest course, steady as a beating drum? Should I not be curious? Which seems to imply that curiosity means that the course may not be so smooth. Is all my dreaming at an end? Or do you still wait for me, dream giver, just around the river bend? I think about what that really means and the ways that we can trick ourselves into thinking that leading enthusiastic lives filled with curiosity and awe and wonder may make us think that it's going to be rough going. I don't know what that was, but it was something. I'm still dancing after last night. There's that aspect in me also that thinks, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I just had a life map? a 5-step plan or a sign from the universe and everything that came up in bold lettering that, told me exactly where to go, what to do, and how to be. Gosh darn it, it just doesn't exist. I mean, wouldn't that be nice if that was the way it all unfolded? Like everything just smooth sailing all the way through. Anyone have a life that was just complete smooth sailing and nothing else? I saw a hand almost go up because someone's going to be a little cheeky today. Here's the thing is that life is more often like a river rather than a straight highway. Life is like a river. And the thing about rivers is that we don't always see what's ahead because rivers always curve and flow. There's always a bend in the river, right? And the other thing about rivers is that it may seem completely smooth on the surface, but underneath there's something churning and churning and churning. We don't always see what's ahead. We only know what is being invited forward. If we are on a canoe on that river, we only know that there's forward momentum. Now, we can try to paddle against the current, right? We can try to paddle against the flow. But what has that ever done for us except, wear us out and exhaust us? And, you're not really going to get very far working against the flow. And so today's song captures that sacred tension. That sacred tension, the tension between safety and possibility. What we perceive to be safety and what we may not realize is infinite possibility. That tension between what we think is certainty and aliveness. That tension between holding on or allowing ourselves to just flow forward. In the prayer class that we just completed this past Tuesday, we talk about the steps of prayer in this new book that was written by Linda Martella Whitsett and Deanne Weir-Morency. I love the way that they've reframed the structure of the way we teach prayer, because it's no longer steps of prayer, that feels very cold. It's like, no, prayer is a flow. They refer to it as a flow, and that flow is a flow of opening up to the realization of the power and presence of divinity in a relaxed state of beingness, flowing into the realization that that is who and what we are, and that whatever we speak, our word becomes the contract that shows up as the expression of our lives. And in that flow, we live in the flow of infinite gratitude and appreciation for the flow itself. So it's the difference in this tension that we may have been brought up with prayer to think that prayer is a beseeching or a desire to manipulate or change or see how it gets real tight. And I know I do this a lot, but it feels very indicative of what I'm always trying to get across. It's like I can either try to really control the things in my life, or I can flow and know in a relaxed state of mind that all is always unfolding for my highest and best. How about you? Can we live within that paradigm? All the time? Most of the time. Well, what about the other times?
That's a reminder to go back to the other way.
That's a reminder to go back to the other way. Very good, Beryl.
I had a good teacher.
She said, I have a good teacher, and yes, you do. Okay. Because here's the thing about the nature of life. The nature of life, and life itself is an expression of an infinite living presence, right? We look at our individualized lives, we call them our own life, but we are part of that magnificent, infinite wholeness. And that nature of life is that it is always moving, it is always calling, it is always becoming, and we are the only ones who ever try to stop that flow, because we think it might be safer if we withhold and stop and hold it in. Why? Why do we do that? I can tell you in one word why that usually happens. You ready for that word? Y'all relax into this now, because that word is fear. Fear is the only thing that ever invites us into thinking we need to stop or hold or step back or constrict. We may not be able to see what is ahead. And in fact, you never know what's ahead, ever. We think we know what's ahead. We think we know what's going to happen in 10 minutes. We don't really know what's going to happen in 10 minutes, do we? We have no idea. We have ideas, but we really have no idea. But that fear around what might be, oh boy, do we make up stories. Because we don't know, we start to make up stories because our minds, they don't like empty space. Maybe some do. No, our minds don't like empty space. We like to fill it. We like to know. And here's the thing about knowing. In the expression and experience of not knowing, that is the invitation to open up to the flow. And one of the great ways that I like to affirm that path, I hear the whispering over here because you know exactly the phrase I'm about to use, don't you? Is to ask this question or to make this statement, which results in a question, and that is, I know nothing. Now, what can I know? In this moment, I know nothing. Now, what can I know? What is within me that is flowing forth into expression? What is that which is within my mind and my heart that is inviting something new to be expressed or experienced or understood? What is it that I don't know? I don't know. If we're not allowing ourselves to be open to that out of fear because we can't see what is lying ahead, then we're probably standing frozen on the shore. Now, what this is not an invitation to just recklessly drift, right? This is a spiritual invitation, and that spiritual invitation is to trust in that unseen current. There's a traveler who stood at the edge of the river holding his boat, afraid to begin because he could not see around the bend. He lingered on the shore, asking himself, what if there are rocks ahead? What if the current gets too strong? What if the river leads nowhere? An old ferryman, seeing his hesitation, said, that is the nature of a river. It reveals itself only as you travel it. The traveler stepped into the boat and pushed away from the shore, and when he reached the bend, he found not danger, but a beautiful valley waiting for him. Sometimes what we cannot see is not the end of the journey, but the place where something new begins. So what's holding you back from that new beginning? That's the primary question today. What is holding you back from that new beginning? Because you're the only one who is in charge of that. Nothing I say up here will have any effect on you unless you make a decision for yourself. We may have been taught or brought up to believe that trust only comes after proof or certainty. It's not the way it is. It's not the way it is. Spiritual trust is often necessary before visual evidence. But our culture kind of invites us into this idea of like, oh, I can only trust it if I can see it. Let go. Let go, because the notion of the river is akin to our spiritual life. It is always in flow. It is always moving. It yields and persists in various ways. It doesn't apologize for its direction. It doesn't apologize for its expression. It doesn't apologize in any manner. It doesn't need to see the ocean in order to keep flowing to it. That's the nature of the river. And that is the spiritual nature in and as each and every one of us. We move. We're in a constant state of movement. We both yield and persist in various aspects of our lives. We needn't apologize for our direction. We needn't apologize for our expression. We needn't apologize for our experience. All we must do is remain in the flow to allow ourselves to go into the ocean of the infinite power and presence of divinity itself. The spiritual life is dynamic, right? There's a lot of dynamism in the spiritual life. It is not static. It is always moving, just like me. The spiritual life is only experienced as suffering when we cling to stillness when movement is called for. Something is brewing in me. I know you can check your watches. Because, the river is a lot like, the path of life. And as you know, I walked the Camino de Santiago pilgrimage, the 500-mile walking trek through Spain a couple of years ago. And I think about the times when I might have clung to stillness in that experience when movement was called for, and about how that never served me. It never served me. The call in that experience was always to keep moving forward, to constantly be in the flow. And yes, you know what? There are times when I made wrong turns. But there was always a sign to let me know that I had taken a wrong turn. And all I had to do was pivot to move forward. Letting go of any sense of panic. The river doesn't panic, right? It doesn't panic. The river trusts the larger landscape. I had to live in a state of faith and trust in that experience. And yes, I had ways of being guided. Did I always pay attention to them? Mostly. But there were always signs that invited the direction. I had to be willing to listen to the signs and recognize the signs. Now, we have the capacity to participate in our lives in fear, trying to stop the flow, or in faith, which is trusting in the flow. Yet trust is a participatory thing. Trust is an invitation to participate. It asks these questions, perhaps. Am I listening? Am I aligned? Am I willing? We don't just float aimlessly in that sense of trust. We are in cooperation with the flow. And Spirit can work seemingly invisibly. How many of you have actually seen Spirit? This is a rhetorical question. I'm not asking for a show of hands, but just think for yourself for a moment if this resonates with you. How many of you have seen Spirit itself? Now, irrespective of the answer that perhaps came up in your mind, I'm going to let you know that you see Spirit always. It's all around you. It's the chair you're sitting in. It is the person sitting next to you. It is the lights that light this platform. It is this piano. It is these magnificent musicians. It's the microphone. All of it is Spirit. Can we live in the flow of that understanding? And underneath the current of Spirit is, below that surface, there's something stronger than the eye can detect, because it is infinite power and presence. And that is who and what each and every one of us is. There is something within and below each and every one of us that is stronger than perhaps we have given ourselves credit for. You are empowered because you are the power itself. Trust is at the center of this message today. Trust. And when we allow ourselves to step back, relax, and live in the flow, then we can truly understand what is meant in Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. Just breathe into that. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God, and all is flowing in perfection. The experience of trust is not everything's going my way. Trust is this: in all that unfolds, I am held in and as love, the presence of God itself. That's trust. And there comes a point and a moment, I believe, in every spiritual life where we must make a decision. Will I cling to the familiar, or will I trust the current? God doesn't cling. God is the current. And if that is who and what we are, then why would we ever just cling to the familiar? Will I cling to the familiar, or will I trust the current? Not because we know every twist ahead, but because I know something deeper than fear. And that something deeper, I know you think I'm going to say love, but not quite. That something deeper is presence. You are the presence. I am the presence. All that is the presence. And so that is true trust. True trust. And if you know me, I love a good acronym. Trust to me means this: totally reliant upon spiritual truth. Totally reliant upon spiritual truth. Not relative facts, spiritual truth, that which is unchangeable. I can rely on spiritual truth in every avenue and aspect of my life. So the call is truly simple: to rely unabashedly on spiritual truth, to be totally reliant upon spiritual truth, to release the shore, to bless the bend and the turn in everything, and to trust that current and flow. Peace and blessings. You are magnificent. Every week, as you know, if you are, unless you're new to this community, I endeavor to offer a spiritual practice that can be applied in our lives that is in support of the message of the day. And so the life practice that I'm offering this day is this: identify a place where you have been standing on the shore and release the need to see the whole path and take one courageous step into the flow. You get to decide what that looks like. You get to decide where you perhaps have been standing on the shore. And the encouragement today is take that one courageous step into the flow, knowing you may not be able to see the whole path, but the infinite path is always assured.